Hello guys, again as we mentioned, round 2, and Mehul now has the black pieces against a Mwangi, and let's just dive straight into the game. Mwangi played knight to f3, pawn to d5 by Gohil, pawn to d4 by Mwangi, knight to f6, and now pawn to h3. And again, Gohil, I think, is one of the players you never give an extra move because then you'll really feel it. Let's see how Gohil really changed the tempo of the game and black started dictating it. So pawn to c5 immediately by Gohil. And now white has to do something about the d4 square. So he plays pawn to c3, defending it. And now knight to c6, very active play by black here. And already in this position, I think black has already equalized in the opening. And if black equalizes in the opening by move 4, white has done something really wrong. Now knight to c6 by Gohil, bishop to f4, and you can see it's trying to resemble some sort of a London. But then if you have a London and you've already played pawn to h3, it's going to force you to trade this dark square bishop, and you're not really going to be controlling the dark squares really that much in the game. So pawn to e6 here by Gohil, pawn to e3, continuing with the normal ideas employed in the London, and now bishop to d6. Gohil notices that this dark square bishop needs to be traded. It's, I think, one of the strongest bishops in the London. I don't know, but I feel like when I'm playing the London, I don't really want to trade this dark square bishop for nothing, unless I'm getting the open file in exchange of it. But in this position, you can see that Gohil immediately notices that this bishop can be traded away, and he plays bishop to d6. Here, Mwangi replies immediately by trading the pieces. Queen takes back on d6, and now bishop to d3. Castles by Gohil, castles by both players. Now pawn to b6 in some sort of a statement saying that now if you ever dare capture my pawn on c5, I don't really have to take with the queen. I can just capture with the pawn. Also, it's developing this bishop on b7 because then there's a pawn sitting on e6. You can develop this pawn, that's right, but then bishop on b7 looks really powerful, taking control of the entire diagonal. So pawn to b6 was played here, and now knight b to d2 and pawn to e5. Gohil immediately realizing that he can strike in the center, and this leads to a series of exchanges. Knight takes pawn, d takes on e5, queen takes on e5, and now knight to f3. Queen goes back to e7, or to c7. I mean, it can go anywhere. Queen can go back to e7, it can go back to c7. Even queen to d6 is an idea. So many great ideas in this position, or on where to place your queen. So the queen placement here is really not that crazy, or not really that important, if I may say so. But queen to c7 was chosen by Gohil. And now rook f to e1. Don't know why. Maybe trying to play something like pawn to e4 and strike in the center himself. But then I could have played maybe something like queen to c2. I'm not saying it's the best move in this position. I don't really think so. But then queen to c2, just connect the rooks, maybe develop the queen, and I don't think black can ever play pawn to c4 because then he relinquishes the idea or the pawn break of playing pawn to d4. Also, you can play bishop to f5 and control the f5 square. You're controlling the f5 square. I mean, you can play bishop to f5, trade the queen, trade the bishops, place your queen on f5. It's going to be really centralized in that area of the board. Again, there are no ideas of maybe this knight developing, because if it comes into e4, you can grab it. If it moves anywhere else, you can grab the h7 pawn. So I could have played queen to c2 personally. I don't really get rook f to e1, but to each their own. Rook f to e1, Gohil plays bishop to b7, and now bishop to f1 by Mwangi. Rook a to d8, queen to c2 now, king to h8. At first when I saw this move, because I was walking around the playing hall and I came to his board and found Gohil had played this move, I didn't really understand it. I thought he was maybe trying to play rook to g8 and then try and push for something with pawn to g5 maybe. And it brought me back to a quote that Panchal had told me one time before. Panchal told me that you need to learn how to beat gazelles. Okay, so in Kenya is this sort of a food chain when it comes to chess players and all of that. And Gohil calls the older generation dinosaurs, and he calls like this young generation who have not really hit their peak or they're just still coming up. He calls them gazelles. So Panchol had told me that beating gazelles is important if you want to win the tournament. And why does it bring me back to that? Because I don't think Gohil plays king to h8 and rook to g8 against a top player. I don't really buy it. I don't think he plays something like this and playing pawn to g5. It seems too risky. It allows moves like maybe queen to f5. I don't know, but I just don't buy it. I don't feel like it's a good plan if you're playing against a top player. But then because he was playing against Mwangi, I think Gohil chose to play the man instead of playing the game. So rook to h8. Let's see how it turns out. I mean king to h8 rather. So here rook a to c1. Again, another move that I don't understand. You're just giving Gohil free moves. And you can see from this position, you're going to see how Gohil is really going to actualize his plan, how he's going to convert this position. From taking a gamble, playing king to h8 and maybe rook to g8, sorry, you're going to see how Gohil is going to actualize his plan. So here he plays rook to g8 as advertised, and now pawn to b4 by Mwangi. Don't know. Maybe he was expecting that Gohil was going to capture the pawn. Maybe after he takes back, they're going to exchange queens or something. But again, pawn to b4 does nothing in my opinion. Gohil just continues with his plan, plays bishop to c8, and now knight to h2, trying to control maybe the g4 square, maybe trying to prepare something like pawn to f4 to stop g5. Here Gohil just plays pawn to c4. Also, I don't think, okay, I'm not too sure about knight to h2 also. I can't see the plan. So pawn to c4 again by black, pawn to a4 by white, trying to create something now of his own. Maybe play something like pawn to a5, exchange on the queen side, maybe break the rooks, bring the rooks on the a file, try and control that a file. Maybe playing even rook c to d1 would have been an idea, trying to develop this rook this way. Maybe play rook to d4, take control of maybe the fourth rank, probably. But again, his plan or White's plan is not too clear, and it's taking longer than expected. And let's see what Gohil does about this. He plays pawn to g5, continues with his plan, and now you can see that queen to f5, that would have been a very brilliant move in this position, taking advantage of Gohil's g5 push, is not available anymore, because this bishop on c8 just controls the f5 square adequately. And now what White is doing is just bracing for impact and maybe trying to find some surviving moves. So here he plays bishop to e2, trying to control g4 also, pawn to h5 by Gohil, and now pawn to g4. And you can see that the heat was really getting to Mwangi at this point, because pawn to g4 is a losing move. This is I mean the game defining move in my opinion. He could have played maybe in this position something like maybe queen to d1, maybe really try and add more defense to the g4 square, trying to prevent g4 from happening by black, and maybe try and really hold this position. And if he managed to hold it, I'm thinking, because even after queen to d1 you have ideas of maybe playing queen to d4, putting a lot of pressure on this f6 knight. And if you manage to survive this, I think White comes out of this position being better. But here you can feel maybe, I don't know, the Gohil effect. People are really trying, okay, or he was really feeling the heat in this position, and he chose to play pawn to g4 here, trying to put something on g4 before Gohil does. And now Gohil just plays knight to e4, and you're going to see how easy it was for him to convert this position. Knight to e4, bishop to f3, trying to trade this knight maybe, because it's an attacking piece, it's placed on a very good outpost. Maybe you want to get it out of there. You don't want to push the f3 pawn, trying to get this knight out of there, because then queen to g3 becomes a very, very strong move for black. So here bishop to f3 was played. Queen to e5 was played by Gohil. Any move I think here is playable. You can even play h takes g. Not that, rather, but h takes g, h takes g. Maybe play king to g8. Try and maybe control this diagonal. Try and maybe place the rook on h8 and try and control the h file. The queen is also staring down at h2. Maybe try something with that. But then here Gohil played, instead of all this, after bishop to f3, he played queen to e5, centralizing his queen. And now bishop takes on e3. I'm guessing here, again, Mwangi expected Gohil to play queen takes back, but then Gohil just played pawn takes back. Queen to e2 was played, trying to eye this pawn on c4, but then just rook to d3. Rook to c2 was played, pawn to f5. Again, after rook to c2, Gohil could have just played anything, even rook takes on c3 is a move, but then here he played pawn to f5, which in my opinion is way, way stronger. Not easy to deal with this idea, because you can see both pawns are really eyeing, or maybe if you play g takes h, I think what's the idea here? Even playing pawn to g4, I think is playable. Pawn to g4, yeah, because then at any point the position opens up. This king is being eyed by the rook on g8, so you don't really want to take away from the center here. And even if you take on f5, you could maybe play the same thing, maybe even play bishop takes, then play g4. Anything is playable in this position, and it's really, really hard to deal with f5. So here pawn to f3 was played by Mwangi, and here, from here, position is now completely winning for black. Gohil plays rook to queen to g3 with check. King goes to f1. He takes on h3 with check. King goes to g2. The queen trade happens, and now even e takes on f3 with check. Knight takes back, and now even bishop to b7. King to f3. Bishop takes knight. King takes back, and now f takes on g4. King goes back to g2, and now Gohil starts bringing his king into the game. Rook e to e2 was played. King to f6, pawn to e4, king to e5, pawn to b5. I think at this point Mwangi didn't know what to do. He was just trying to hold on. Rook to f8 by black. Rook to f2, rook takes, and now pawn to h3. Anything here is playable. Even rook takes on c3 is playable. So pawn to h6 was played. Even king takes on e4. Anything literally. Pawn to h4 was played. Rook to f5 with check. King takes pawn. Rook takes on g5. Pawn to h3 was played with check. King goes to f1. King to f3 by black. Rook to f5 check. King to g3. And now king to e2, trying to hold on, but pawn to h2, rook to f1, and after king to h3, white resigned, and Gohil won his second game. So really, really good and really powerful conversion by him. And we were mentioning this before, I think the third round. And the thing that differentiates the stronger players in Kenya with the upcoming ones, or the weaker ones, is their conversion, or rather any strong player to a weaker one is how they convert their positions. Because getting a playable position, getting a winning position might be easy, but then converting the position is a different ball game. So this was Gohil in round 2. Won against Mwangi, very convincing win. Again, he was looking really fit. So this was round 2. Let's see how he performed in round 3. This was all in day 1. So yeah, hope you're enjoying the games. Continue subscribing and tuning in, because we're going to show all the relevant games in the tournament. So thank you again. Make sure you subscribe and tune in for the third game.